Some secrets are better left buried. Some truths are too horrific to face. But in the small town of Red Hollow, Texas, one man's obsession turned a local diner into a house of horrors. This is the story of Clara Vance, and the chilling legacy she left behind. Clara Vance was no ordinary cook. She was a legend, a woman whose pies could make grown men weep with joy. People would cross state lines, stand in line for hours, just for a slice of her magic. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was the dark ingredient that made her desserts so unforgettable. This isn't just a missing person case. This is the tale of a woman who turned her kitchen into a nightmare, and her customers into something far worse than fans. Clara Vance wasn't just a baker. She was a predator. And her diner, it was her trap. But before we dive into the blood, the betrayal, and the recipes, let's start at the beginning. Let's meet Clara Vance, the woman who turned a sleepy Texas town into a slaughterhouse. Clara Vance was a vision. With her warm smile and flour-dusted apron, she was the heart of Vance's Diner, a cozy spot off Highway 10. To the folks of Red Hollow, Clara wasn't just a cook, she was family. Her pies, they were the stuff of legend. Pecan, apple, cherry, each bite was pure bliss. Food bloggers called her creations otherworldly, raving about her secret ingredient. But no one could guess what made her desserts so addictive. Clara wasn't just talented, she was obsessed. Every pie, every crust, had to be perfect. She'd spend hours in her kitchen, tweaking recipes, muttering to herself about the ideal flavor. To outsiders, it was dedication. To those who knew her best, it was something else. Clara's story began in a dusty corner of Texas, raised by a single mother who ran a failing bakery. Young Clara learned early that food was power. She'd watch her mother knead dough, dreaming of a day when she'd be the one in control. By her teens, Clara was experimenting, mixing spices, testing textures, and, well, let's just say she was a little too curious about her ingredients. She worked odd jobs at butcher shops, diners, anywhere she could get her hands on a stove. Locals whispered about that strange girl who'd linger too long over raw cuts of meat, her eyes gleaming with something unsettling. But Clara didn't care. She had a vision. And by age 28, she'd scraped together enough to open Vance's Diner. It was humble at first, a few booths, a jukebox, and a menu of classics. But Clara's pies, they were the star. Within months, word spread. People drove from Dallas, Houston, even Oklahoma, just for a taste. Critics called her a culinary savant. But behind the scenes, Clara was different, secretive. She'd lock the kitchen at night, barring even her staff. She'd vanish for days, returning with bags of special ingredients wrapped in butcher paper. And then there were the rumors. Strange smells wafting from the diner after hours. Odd stains on Clara's apron that didn't look like fruit preserves. And the missing people, folks who'd been seen at the diner, then never seen again. But Clara was a charmer. She'd flash that smile, offer a free slice of pie, and suddenly, the whispers faded. Who could suspect Red Hollow's sweetheart of anything sinister? She was their pride, their joy, the woman who put their town on the map. But behind that smile was a hunger that grew with every pie she baked. Clara Vance wasn't just a cook, she was a hunter. And her diner wasn't just a diner, it was her killing ground. Enter Tom Harper, Clara's loyal husband. Tom was a quiet man, content to let Clara shine. He'd handle the books, fix the jukebox, and keep the diner running. But lately, something was off. Clara was distant. She'd snap at him for no reason, her eyes cold and calculating. And then there were the noises, late at night, coming from the kitchen. Grinding, chopping, something wet. Tom tried to brush it off. Clara was stressed, he told himself. Running a diner was hard work. But the doubts crept in. The strange deliveries at midnight. The locked freezer Tom wasn't allowed to touch. And the missing regulars, people who'd once filled the booths, now gone without a trace. One night, Tom couldn't take it anymore. Clara was working late, again, her usual excuse. He waited until the diner was empty, then grabbed a flashlight and headed for the kitchen, the one place Clara had always kept off limits. The air was thick with the smell of sugar, and something sharper, metallic. Tom's flashlight swept the room, landing on a heavy steel door in the back. The walk-in freezer. His hands shook as he approached, the lock gleaming like a warning. Clara had always said it was for special stock. But what kind of stock needed a padlock? Inside, Tom found shelves lined with packages, neatly wrapped, labeled with dates and names. His stomach twisted as he tore one open. The contents weren't pork. They weren't beef. They were wrong. The texture, the color, it was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Tom gagged, dropping the package as the truth hit him like a freight train. He stumbled back, his mind racing. The missing people, the late-night deliveries, Clara's obsession. It all clicked. But he needed more. Proof. Something to take to the sheriff. He rifled through the freezer, finding a box tucked in the corner. Inside were photos, grainy Polaroids of faces frozen in fear. Faces he knew, and scribbled on each one, in Clara's elegant handwriting, perfect batch. Clara was back. Tom's heart pounded as he stuffed a photo and a package into his jacket. He had to get out. He had to tell someone. But as he turned, the kitchen door swung open, and there she was. Clara, her apron pristine, her smile as warm as ever. "Tom, darling," she said, her voice like honey. "What are you doing in my kitchen?" Tom clutched the evidence, his voice trembling. "Clara, what is this? What have you done?" Clara's smile didn't falter. She stepped closer, her eyes glinting in the dim light. "Oh, Tom," she said, picking up a rolling pin. "You were never good at keeping secrets." Tom tried to run, but Clara was faster. She grabbed his arm, her grip like steel. "You think you can ruin me?" she whispered, her voice cold as ice. "You think you can take away my legacy?" Tom fought back, but Clara was relentless. She dragged him toward the freezer, her laughter echoing through the kitchen. "Don't worry, darling," she said. "You're about to become part of something delicious." Deputy Sarah Monroe wasn't one to believe in ghost stories. But in Red Hollow, the whispers about Vance's diner were hard to ignore. Over the past year, 7 people had vanished, poets, drifters, loners. No bodies, no clues, just, gone. Sarah had been chasing leads, but every trail led nowhere. Then came the tip. A neighbor swore they'd seen Clara loading something heavy into her truck at 3 a.m. Sarah's gut told her it was time to dig deeper. She started with the diner, noting how every missing person had a connection, either a customer or someone who'd lingered too long after closing. Sarah parked across from Vance's diner, watching as Clara greeted customers with her trademark smile. But something felt wrong. The way Clara's eyes lingered on certain patrons. The way she'd lock the door after hours, even when the open sign was still lit. One night, Sarah slipped behind the diner, her flashlight off to avoid attention. She checked the dumpster, sifting through grease-soaked bags until she found it, a torn page, stained with something dark. She held it up, her pulse racing. It was a recipe, but not for pie. Human shoulder, slow-roasted. Human marrow, spiced blend. "Holy hell," Sarah whispered, her hands shaking. She stuffed the page into her pocket, her mind reeling. And then she remembered, last month, she'd eaten at the diner. Clara had insisted she try the special tart. It had been incredible. Too incredible. Sarah leaned against the dumpster, fighting nausea. The taste of that tart lingered, twisting her stomach. She'd been part of Clara's game, even if she hadn't known it. Her radio crackled. It was her partner, Deputy Ruiz. "Sarah, we've got a problem. Tom Harper hasn't been seen in days." "I know," Sarah said, her voice steely, "and I know where to look." After Tom vanished, Vance's diner hit new heights. Crowds poured in, drawn by whispers of a new flavor that was to die for. Clara basked in the spotlight, her pies more popular than ever. But Sarah wasn't fooled. She'd seen the recipe. She'd tasted the truth. Sarah hatched a plan, a sting to catch Clara off guard. She'd pose as a reporter, get close, and find the evidence to bury her. It was dangerous, but Sarah was out of options. The diner was packed when Sarah arrived, her notepad and fake press badge ready. Clara greeted her warmly, her smile almost too perfect. "A reporter, huh?" Clara said, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Well, I'm flattered. Let's get you the VIP treatment." Sarah ordered the special, a slice of Clara's famous pecan pie. When it arrived, it looked flawless, the crust golden, the filling rich. Sarah hesitated, her stomach churning, but she took a bite. The flavor was haunting, familiar. And then she felt it, something small, caught in the filling. Sarah slipped it into her napkin, her heart pounding. It was a key, a tiny, silver key, etched with the initials TH, Tom Harper. Sarah's blood ran cold. She had her proof. But Clara was watching, her smile tighter now. "SFX, sirens approaching." Sarah signaled her team. Within seconds, deputies stormed the diner, their shouts cutting through the chatter. Clara didn't flinch. She stood calmly, her hands raised, her eyes locked on Sarah. "Clara Vance," Sarah said, stepping forward. "You're under arrest for the murder of Tom Harper and others." Clara laughed, a sound that chilled the room. "You think you've stopped me?" she said, her voice low. "My recipes are eternal." Clara was led away, the diner sealed off, its secrets exposed. But for Sarah, it wasn't over. She couldn't shake the image of that key, the weight of all those lives lost. Sarah stood outside the diner, lighting a cigarette as reporters swarmed. She thought of Tom, of the key in her pocket. She thought of the victims, their stories silenced by Clara's hunger. "We got her," Ruiz said, joining her. "Case closed." "No," Sarah said, exhaling smoke. "Not for me, not for them." Days later, the police found Clara's ledger. A meticulous record of every victim, every dish. It was a roadmap to her madness, each entry more grotesque than the last. But the final page was the worst. Dated the day of her arrest, it read, "The feast continues. Enjoy your slice." The fallout shook Red Hollow to its core. Vance's diner was demolished, but its shadow lingered. Tourists came, snapping photos of the empty lot, whispering about the cannibal cook. The town tried to heal, but the wounds were deep. No one knows how many Clara killed, or how many pies were served. Clara's in prison now, her charm useless behind bars. Some say she still sketches recipes, dreaming of her next masterpiece. Others say she's broken, haunted by her own hunger. But one thing's certain, in Texas, legends aren't just born. Sometimes, they're carved. The scent of pie lingering in the air. And then, just as the silence settles, a faint hum rises, a tune Clara used to sing, echoing like a ghost. So, what do you think? Could a monster like Clara hide in plain sight? Or is this just a twisted tale to keep you up at night? How far would you go for the perfect dish? And what would you do if your favorite diner held a secret like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are Clara's recipes still out there, waiting to be tasted? Or is Red Hollow finally free? Share your theories, your chills, even your darkest humor. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that bite. Till next time, bon appetit.